A really common and interesting anecdote of something that happened to me today. So I was referred to a recruiting firm has been engaged to do a search for a chief revenue officer. They called somebody about it. That person knew me and said, you should talk to this guy. So I said, fine. So I got on the phone. It's like a head recruiter at this firm. The situation is they're looking for a chief revenue officer. Their client is a 10 million in revenues stage digital agency of sorts. And they just got PE backing. So the PE firm came in, gave them an infusion of some money. Founder has been the seller for the most part and had their hands in most of the sales and sort of wants to bring in someone who's got more seniority, et cetera, et cetera. I'm listening to this and I'm sort of hearing things I hear all the time. Essentially what's happening, and this is the thing I hear every day almost, this PE firm wants to hire a chief revenue officer whom they will describe as like a player coach who can get into sales and run the sales team, build up a sales function, blah, 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 all that stuff. So I explained to this recruiter that I understand, it's your client, so you're probably going to give them what they want, but you called me, so I'll give you my perspective. And I explained to them that my perspective on this is that a chief revenue officer doesn't run sales, shouldn't run sales, and that your advice to them should be that they hire a head of sales and just be honest about it. Just what it is. This is a head of sales role. And I asked them, why it is that they are calling this role a CRO. And he told me what I expected to hear, which is A, they believe that if they put the job description out as a chief revenue officer, they'll get a higher quality candidate. And the other one is that they felt that there was equity in the title and that, in lieu of maybe compensation, they may get someone who would be willing to take a CRO position for what they have as a lesser budget than they may have than they would like for a person of the caliber they want. So again, they're using the title as a proxy for compensation, which is they're manipulating the candidate on their ego. And number two is they also wanted a CRO because the board felt that having a chief revenue officer title in the C-suite would be attractive to other investors in the marketplace. So there's two short-term, very superficial and frankly unprofessional and, in my opinion, stupid reasons to hire a chief revenue officer. Those are the completely useless reasons to give someone a CRO title. And by the way, he also told me that, sort of parenthetically that there's some room for this person who they hire to eventually be promoted to a president, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know what a president would mean in this context. I asked him that question. He didn't know either. And I said, that won't happen because let's say they hire a person in this capacity, and this person's good, and they're really good at selling, and they're great at being in deals. Why would they take that person out of that position? Why? They won't. They'll keep that person in because that person's making the company money, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to want it to keep making the company money. And what they'll do is they'll just hire somebody else over him, at which point, now what are they going to do? If the person's a chief revenue officer, are they going to hire a president over this person? The whole thing made no sense. But here's my point of this anecdote is this happens every day. Chief revenue officers are sort of abused in the marketplace. So this little video or anecdote is targeted to two people, well, three people. One is CROs. If you're looking for CRO positions right now, find out why they want to hire a chief revenue officer. See what stage they're at. If they're 10 million or under, they shouldn't even have one. If they're over that, then I'd want to know what business outcome do you want this chief revenue officer to accomplish for your company? And if it's anything other than build us an aligned and mature revenue operation, I'd say they just want a head of sales. That's what you're going to end up doing. And any promises they make to the contrary probably won't happen. For CEOs and founders, a CRO position is not a bauble that you dangle in front of somebody's face to get them to come work for you. That's not the right way to do this for a couple of reasons. One is you're not going to get the right person. You're going to get somebody who's title chasing. Number two is, what are you going to do now? You're going to crowd up or clog up your C-suite with someone that doesn't belong there, which creates all sorts of strategic problems for you down the road that you're not seeing right now. This is all short-termism. This is all making decisions today to solve an immediate problem without thinking about the long-term implications of them and the amount of money it's going to cost. And lastly, PE firms and VC. This is hard for me to communicate with this particular group because I don't have access to them. But my hope is that PE firms stop this pressure on the CEOs and founders of their companies to do these sort of things because they're fulfilling on their immediate needs, not related specifically to the company's growth. And this is mostly where this problem starts. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you because this is a very common thing. I probably hear this 3 times a week. We hope to stop it and help companies make better decisions around A, better definition of what a CRO is, how a CRO is supposed to impact the business, when the right time is to hire a CRO, how to identify a good CRO, and how to become ready for a CRO. These are really key things that companies need to understand, or else you're going to end up with a major, very expensive problem on your hands. Thanks for listening.